Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books. Well, today we're talking about firing Bob Chapek. It's definitely way past time to get rid of Bob Chapek. Does that mean we're going to get rid of him tomorrow? Probably not. It looks like some more bad things need to happen first, but there's an easy case to make for firing Bob Chapek. Very recently this week, right after financial results came out, Jim Cramer, who's a CNBC guy, very well-known financial personality, called for Bob Chapek to be fired. In fact, saying Disney President Bob Chapek absolutely has to be fired, CNBC's Jim Cramer says. He then goes on to explain that Bob Chapek is delusional. It's not so much even the terrible results from the last financial quarter, it's how he presented the results as a really positive thing. That's something that financial people get very uncomfortable with because it's one thing to have a problem in business. Business almost is problems, one thing after another. But at least you want to get the impression that someone is aware of what the key problems are, they have a strategy for a solution, and they're on it. They're going to take care of it. But when you won't even admit that there are problems and that you need to make some sort of a serious adjustment and that the market has changed, things like this, then it doesn't let people know, investors and employees, customers, everyone involved with the company. It doesn't let people know that you're actually going to take care of things. So while there may be things to worry about, it's okay because you have people that are aware of what they need to be doing. Let's go ahead and get into the article on IndieWire. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. You guys have been amazing. The channel's growing. I really do appreciate you. Disney President Bob Chapek absolutely has to be fired, CNBC's Jim Cramer says. Okay, let's see exactly what he has to say. Disney's fourth quarter earnings report saw the company take some major wins, like a 12.1 million subscriber add to Disney Plus. However, you have to be very careful when you look at their subscriber numbers because of how they push them into bundles and multiple count every bundle. One bundle with 3 subscription services on it equals 3 subscriptions. So when you sign up for a bundle, you're signing up for 3 subscriptions as far as Disney's accounting is concerned. But also it took some major losses, including a $1.5 billion loss in the direct-to-consumer, their streaming service division, in 1 quarter, in 3 months. That's a big loss. There are many reasons to get rid of Bob Chapek. We're going to go over the Cramer thing and then a couple of other quick points. Quote, Disney, they have ESPN. If we were on ESPN, we would say he's got to be fired. That's pretty cut and dry, Cramer said on CNBC. The losses here are just mind-boggling. When you're going over the quarter, it's stunning. Cramer joined Squawk Box to discuss Disney's earnings, Meta, and the election with the program's co-host Andrew Ross Sorkin. During their discussion on Disney, Cramer criticized Chapek for his public response to the losses in the quarter. The CEO's statement accompanying the fourth quarter earnings focused mostly on the Disney Plus subscription growth, with the CEO seemingly downplaying the losses the company faced. And that's the issue. Going back and pointing and saying, hey, look at all the subscribers we got. Really? So operating the business has no priority. Your focus is only on, as long as we have subscriber numbers to put out, that's us doing a great job, giving my bonus, apparently. Quote, our fourth quarter saw strong subscription growth with the addition of 14.6 million total subscriptions, including 12.1 million Disney Plus subscribers, Chapek said in his statement. The rapid growth of Disney Plus in just 3 years since launch is a direct result of our strategic decision to invest heavily in creating incredible content like She-Hulk and rolling out the service internationally. And we expect our DTC, direct-to-consumer, streaming, operating losses to narrow going forward, and that Disney Plus will still achieve profitability in fiscal 2024, assuming we do not see a meaningful shift in the economic climate. First of all, everyone expects that the economy is doing poorly now. It's going to do probably more poorly, and not to be negative, but that's just reality, in the next few months. They're really not expecting a big turnaround in the economy kind of forever. We don't even know when inflation's going to go down. So this is a reference to Chapek saying, well, we're getting all these incredibly expensive subscriptions. I certainly hope people don't cancel their Disney Plus subscriptions and their bundles, because if they do, we're going to have a lot of problems. Yeah, they are going to have a lot of problems. The way he handled it, he made it sound like it was a 4-star quarter, Cramer said. That's delusional. Chapek is relatively new to the position of CEO at Disney, having taken over the House of Mouse in 2020 after Bob Iger retired from his 15-year post at the company. That said, the executive has a long history at the company, starting with Disney and serving the chairman of Disney Parks for 5 years. Yeah, he was the chairman of Disney Parks. Since taking the top role, Chapek has faced some major turbulence, including a PR crisis early this year after Disney initially refused to take a stand against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' discriminatory "Don't Say Gay" bill. Well, obviously, that's a political statement by the publication. The law is what the law is. That said, Disney is apparently pleased with his leadership. Oh my, that's quite shocking. And Chapek isn't going anywhere regardless of what Cramer thinks. Well, I would not be so sure about that, because this was after this article was published, they just announced these massive cuts. And I did a video of this obviously yesterday, and the way that they discussed they were handling the cuts, I don't want to say seems haphazard. It's just all badly communicated. And it sounds like essentially they're trying to say, listen, Warner Brothers Discovery is doing it successfully. We're going to do it successfully too. We're going to cut our overhead by 20%. Somehow. We're just going to get our teams together and hopefully it's all going to work out. So Warner Brothers Discovery has been planning for the cuts that they've been making since they decided they were going to do the merger, which is like a year before the merger consummated in April 2022. So I'm going to be skeptical that Bob Chapek and his top-notch team, who've created these crazy results even in the last financial quarter and are burning up all of their brands, I'm going to be a little skeptical that they're going to be able to execute the way that Warner Brothers Discovery has. And if you've noticed, the stock for Warner Brothers Discovery is not doing so well themselves. They're hitting their targets with respect to all their cuts and things like that, but they have shortfalls on revenues. They're facing advertising revenue problems. There's all kinds of problems at Warner Bros. Discovery, and that's being managed incredibly tightly. So I don't know what that portends, what the expectation is going to be for Disney managing their problems, but I think it's not going to go so well. I'm not impressed with the management of Disney. The other thing, which is fascinating that this article hasn't mentioned here, is Chapek has so badly overseen the damage of Disney's core brand, what Disney means, and all of the other brands it owns, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars. So many people are disappointed with how those brands are being handled. And it's not one side of the aisle or the other side of the aisle politically. People going to Disney, the theme parks are frustrated by the high price increases. And, the reason the high price increases are there is because Chapek, if he knows one thing, he did run the parks. He knows how to trap people and to, once they're in the parks, force them to pay a lot more money than they expected for the trip, soak all their money out. It's costing a tremendous amount more to go to Disney, and the services in terms of keeping parks clean and keeping the rides working, all the reports are that they're not working as well, and people are very disappointed. And Chapek's response to this is like, well, we have a lot of people that want to go to the park, so we're just going to keep raising the prices. And, we're more interested in people that go to the park than the regular annual pass holders. They've got a lot of pushback on it. And in terms of raising prices on the parks, it's not like the same thing is happening at Universal. It's not happening. The other thing that Chapek did, talking about the legislation battle with Governor DeSantis, he managed to screw up their governing authority, which gave them control of not having to pay for additional taxes and let them do whatever they wanted. They had like their own mini government for Disney. In Florida, it's been there since the 1960s. Chapek screwed that up because he decided he was going to take on the governor of Florida, even though it had absolutely nothing to do with any of the business activities related to Disney. They can fight over whether or not they like the legislation. The issue is you can't threaten the governor of a state that you're dependent on, as Disney is in Florida, and expect that it's going to necessarily always work out to your advantage. And it didn't. I don't know how many billions that the loss of the Reddy Creek District is going to cost Disney. But for Chapek to accomplish that is really quite incredible. It's as if he has no sense of relationships whatsoever. Beyond that, the woke infestation of all of their brands, of all of their staffing, of their hiring. We've all seen internal documentation from Disney talking about abolishing this and abolishing that. They seem to be targeting certain specific cultures. They're getting very racially oriented over there. It's a very negative situation. And while Bob Iger had all sorts of woke things going on when he was at the company, he's the one that oversaw Kathleen Kennedy. He never got rid of Kathleen Kennedy. Many bad things happened at Disney while Bob Iger was there. But there all wildly out of control now under Bob Chapek. Really, Bob Chapek needs to be fired. I want to know what you think of this. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think it's time to get rid of Bob Chapek? I don't know anybody who really thinks he should stay there except maybe for him. I don't know. Tell me where I'm wrong. I know a lot of people like to slam Bob Iger. He bought Fox expensively. Maybe he didn't have a choice. My take on Bob Iger having to acquire Fox was they didn't even have Disney Plus at the time, and Hulu was a viable streaming service. You know, that's another thing with this Bob Chapek. He can't discuss the acquisition of the 1/3 stake that they need to get from Comcast. He can't talk about it intelligently. Every time he talks about it, it comes out wrong. It sounds like when Iger took over Fox, it sounded like it was a guarantee that they were going to get Hulu. All they would have to do is just kind of pursue what they were doing. And it just, you know, they already had like the majority of Hulu. This actually sounds like something that Bob Chapek could screw up and wind up having to sell Hulu to Comcast, who would be very happy to take it. They have more than enough money. And they're deal makers at Comcast. They know what they're doing. I don't know what you think of this, but let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Please be sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. And I will see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.